What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? So today we are doing our top 5 mids. We went over our tier list yesterday. If you haven't seen that, then the video is somewhere. You can click it. You can find it. It'll take 10 seconds, right? I want to cover the top 5 mages, why they're the top 5 mages, which is, it's not a pretty thing right now, but why they're the top 5 mages, the builds. Smite source is all updated, so the builds are there. We'll go over them. And then kind of the play style, you know, the peaks, early, mid, late game. What really is the story now for mid laners? Like I said, it's not pretty. There's I really think mid mages need some buffs as like a starting point for game balance. And yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk about it. Up, I did top 5 junglers the other day, and I think I went from number 1 up to number 5. For the entire history of me doing this, I've gone the reverse order. So that's what we're gonna do now. We'll do reverse 5 up to number 1. Now, if you didn't watch the tier list video, I mentioned that right now, with crit being so overpowered, that hunters are high in the meta. There's only like 2, maybe 3 gods I'd play over hunters in mid. That's pushing it. I mean, there's an argument to be made where you don't even play those. Like Jingwei mid, Medusa mid, Neath Aspect mid, all very, very good with this crit meta we're in. That's going to get nerfed. They nerfed the starter item today, not enough. It really didn't even affect anything. But you can tell they see the problem, so hopefully we start seeing more nerfs. Anyway, into it. Number 5 on the list is Zeus. Why Zeus? It's simply damage output. Zeus is probably one of the least safe mid laners. He has no CC immunity, and his only movement is movement speed from his 2, right? But in the world we live in, you go to the mid lane build, you get movement speed from Gem of Focus and Doom Warp, which allows you to zoom, okay? You're taking off, you're gone. You're able to kind of rotate in, stay a little bit safer. Positioning's a little easier than if you actually had no mobility. And with Zeus, the secondary con to picking the god is your clear. But they made the 1 so valuable that you can actually clear. With mid lane Zeus, you'd want to max the 1 to make sure you're clearing, and then look for any time you can bounce to people. Then max the 3, then max the 2, then max the ult. You're basically playing around spamming your abilities. You have triple cooldown with this build. You have Chronos Pendant, Gem of Focus, Totem of Death. If you find that your clear is fine and you want even more cooldown, you could change your starter out. I'd prefer Archmages just for that burst damage. It's nice. With Zeus, your damage spikes earlier than a lot of mages. Like, significantly earlier. Level 2, you kind of do really good damage, where most other mages don't at all, but most other mages have some safety net in their kit to keep them safe. So that's why Zeus is number 5, because if you are spamming Zeus, you're gonna have to be very confident in your gameplay. You're gonna have to be able to trade and turn and fight with people on top of you. You're gonna have to learn how to self-peel, meaning dropping your ult on top of you, using your 1 for the slow, using your 3 for the stun peel. You need to learn the intricacies of Zeus rather than just raw mage output like in Smite 1. In Smite 1, all this stuff existed, but you could just kind of be like, hey, I'm, you know, Scylla 2, they're dead, right? Like, you didn't have to really think if you were able to get your abilities off first. And that's just not the same in Smite 2. The damage outputs are significantly different. So here's the build. Have fun with it. I'm sure we'll see build changes over time. I do believe that items have too little intellect on them, and I'm hoping we see that change at some point. But Zeus is a solid damage dealer. He's the 1 mage of the 5 that we're gonna go over, really out of all of them, that can fight at level 2 and pump. Most other mages, they're all right, but they don't pump like Zeus. Zeus is crazy. That is, like I said, number 5. Have fun playing them. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. Number 4 on the list. I honestly think this is kind of a bait. I almost hate putting it here. I talked about it in the tier list where I feel like she's a bait god. I feel like she's overrated. So I don't like putting her here, but I think I have to because of the ease of play. It's Nuwa. Nuwa's dumb because she can quite literally sit back under her tower and clear and never die. So if you're a bad mid laner, or you're learning the game, or you get off-rolled in the mid lane, this would be that god. I'd be like, just play it. So you could sit there and clear and sit under your tower, all to find out where people are, all to help in the team fight. And then once you're grouping, she does do good damage, but that's mid to late game, or like late game, right? She does pump if she gets 3 minions on somebody and blows them up. It's 1,000+ combo. The 1 starts to hit really hard. Your cooldowns are very, very, very low on your 1 and your 3. So you're able to do damage. It's just her only safety net is her ultimate, which has a long cooldown. Her ultimate doesn't hit anywhere near as hard in Smite 2 as Smite 1. It still does damage though. That's just the story of mages. She is solid. I think she's overrated still. You can see I talked about her on the tier list. You can go back and watch that and see the explanation. Her big thing, like I said, is safety play in the mid lane, sitting back, not being able to be killed, never a threat to dying, able to help the team no matter what your positioning is, and then getting to the full build late game where then you want to be aggressive, you want to blow people up, you want to, you have that stun combo, you've got the damage from your ult finally. That's what you're looking for. That's why I talk so badly about mages right now, is because they all play for the hyper late game, and even in the hyper late game, they're not crushing people. They're doing a lot. Like if you hit a full damage assassin with your entire combo, you're probably gonna kill him, right? But in comparison to Smite 1, a Nuwa hits you with just the 2-3 combo and there's a good chance they die. You ult on Nuwa in Smite 1 and half their health is gone with full build. In Smite 2, we're talking about late game. We're talking fire giants, multiple 3k pots, and you're still struggling to find that same gameplay, which I really do believe we are lacking. We'll see what Hi-Res does with it. Regardless, this is number 4 on our list. Once again, play this if you're trying to not die and just be a safe. You're not trying to carry your team, trying to let your team do their thing, and you're trying to be very, very safe. That's what you're looking for with Nuwa in the number 4 slot. Number 3, Agni. I think Agni's a weird one. I don't know why it says, oh, this build is out of date. I didn't add Agni into the builds. I'll update it. It's the same build as Zeus. This is what you would run on Agni. I don't know why I didn't put Agni in the suggested gods. With Agni, I feel like you're almost a CC bot in the early and into the mid game. I think you are there for your stun. Your damage exists, but you're not 100 to 0ing somebody. Even if you triple bomb 2 and 3 somebody, it's likely they don't die unless they stand in the full 3 and you get autos off. It's kind of sad. Once you get to later mid game, so like we're talking like Totem of Death level, once you have that item, then you start to pump damage, and that full combo would probably kill a squishy, but that's the full combo. And at that point in the game, if you're dashing in, that is insanely risky. So like I said, I look at Agni as I have a stun and follow up for my teammates, not as I'm going to go around and one shot people. So it's good. Agni's good at rotating and being a part of fights that are starting. And Agni's good at following up ganks. I don't believe Agni is all that good at starting his own ganks and making his own rotations, but that CC aspect is very big in Smite 2 because we lack actives. There's only one relic per player, right? So people aren't going to want to beat Agni stuns. You become a lot more useful with that spam ability. That's why you play around the cooldown. Honestly, the Gem of Focus could be swapped out. I like the movement plus the stacking intellect because of the low intellect on a lot of items. I do believe this is probably the build you'll want to go. Soul Gem also has a lot of value. So a Soul Gem in this slot also gains, it is valuable. So this could be a Soul Gem if you want. And then in any of these builds, if you need anti-heal, you can either swap out the focus if you don't want cooldown, or you swap out the Doom Orb and just don't go Doom Orb and you move the whole build forward. So you'd build the Divine Ruin here and then just go Rod, Obshar, Totem, no Doom Orb. That's always your build. With late game Agni, you pump. You do solid damage, same as every other mage. You get to the point where you're a true threat. You can bomb to somebody and they're at half health. You could double bomb somebody and they're half health or 40%, 30%, whatever. It's a lot of damage. That is why I like him. Plus, you maintain that CC setup aspect from a ranged god, which is hyper valuable in Smite. It's always been very valuable, and people just didn't even recognize why these gods were doing well. I like Agni right now. I just don't like his early game, and I feel like if you're trying to hard carry your rank games, he's probably not your go-to. You'd almost look at the Zeus or the next two gods if you're trying to hard carry, in my personal opinion. So that's number 3, right? Number 3. We had Zeus, Nuwa, Agni. Yeah. We got this. We got this. Now, I'm in between here. I'm really not certain if I'd keep the number 1 god at number 1. At first, I was pretty confident in my 1, 2, 3. Agni being 3, the next god being 2, and the other god being 1. But the more I've played the new god Vulcan, I'm not sure he is number 2. I actually believe he might be number 1. I think I've played like 10 mid-ranked games of Vulcan on my main account at high level ranked. I've just been spamming it. I think it's kind of hard to force him into the jungle, which sucks because he's just fun. He's one of my favorite mages. Not my favorite, but one of them. Like up there with top 3 for sure. So I've been spamming him in mid. And the more I play him, the more I realize he's one of the few mages that pumps damage. I'll leave him at number 2 for now, but like I said, this could be a tie for 1-2. So Vulcan at number 2. I have multiple builds here, okay? This is a support build, so don't worry about this. We're talking about mid game. We have mid hybrid and we have mid damage. I will talk about the damage real quick because it's the same build that we've gone over, except for you're going cooldown because Vulcan can clear, oddly enough. But he can clear because of his mods. So Vulcan's +1, which is, you know, what he gained by being moved to Smite 2, is this mod selection that I have typed out here. In game at level 1, level 7, and level 14, you get to pick a mod. You have 3 options at each level. You only pick 1 at each level. So you get 3 at level 1, pick from those. Then at level 7, it's a new 3, pick from those. Level 14, it's a new 3, pick from those, right? With the mid build, you're going mod number 2. This gives you a consumable item that basically you keep getting back. I think it's only a 45, no, it's on a 20-second cooldown. It's really short. It gives you Thumper, which is an old turret from Smite 1. Like OG early Smite 1. The Thumper is a circular turret that does a circular AoE and just pulses damage. It's pretty slow. The damage is pretty mediocre. I'm going to be honest. Doesn't have a lot of health, dies pretty quick. But at level 1, 2, 3, 4, it clears the lane so damn fast. And if you, like, I have gameplay of a Vulcan, and we'll probably throw some clips in this. If you use the Thumper and then block autos, so say you're late against an Agni, the Agni's gonna dash the wave or to the wave, right? Then you put your Thumper down, and if you stand in front of your Thumper so he can't auto it, you can out trade the Vulcan, or you don't even have to trade with the Vulcan. You just hit the wave, and the Vulcan, or sorry, not out trade the Vulcan, the Agni or the other mid laner, you'll out clear them is what I'm trying to say. You can sit there and clear the wave while body blocking autos on your Thumper, and it'll just quick clear the lane. You'll win lane for the first 3-4 levels, which is awesome for maintaining and keeping up farm out of the jungle. And it helps your jungle maintain control if they do like a basic start, which, you know, it's kind of rare these days. Then mod level 2, you increase the damage of your 1 and your 3, increases the base and the scaling of your 1 and your 3. This is very important for late game. I believe that the other mods are bait mods. I think the 2 turret, your second ability turret, is horrible in Smite 2. I know they fixed it today to proc items, but it has specific items that it can now proc. And those items are not Soul Reaver, Soul Gem, or Heart Seeker. So your turret can't give you extra damage, and the damage on your turret is garbage. Your turret also has no HP. It dies so fast. So I don't like taking any of the mods that buffs your 2. So I take the mod that buffs your abilities. And then in the last slot, I take the first mod. This is the mod that gives your Thumper, that first mod we picked up. It gives it more HP, and it gives, whenever you're standing near it, you gain 50 of each protections. 50 of each protections puts you over 100 of each protections. It adds a lot of survivability to your god without doing anything. You don't lose an item slot, nothing, right? Like there's nothing lost at all. And the other 2 mods I think are trash. The second mod buffs your 2, which is your turret. I think it's completely worthless. It gives you 2 of them, which it isn't 2 charges of them. It's you can put 1 down, you can wait till the cooldown comes up, and you can have a second one down. Your turrets die fast. The only value out of that mod is if you have full control and you're doing objectives, it helps kill it faster. But if you're getting contested on objectives, they just die, and I think they're worthless. And then the third mod makes your ultimate, whenever you hit somebody with an ultimate, they're tremored for 2 seconds. There may be some value in that. I haven't put time into it, but I'd rather just have the guaranteed survivability rather than using my ult for peel, because your ult hits really, really, really hard on Vulcan. So now we've talked about the mod selection. Let's talk about Vulcan. I already mentioned that with the first mod of the Thumper, your clear is great early. So you can literally focus on just poking. I am not joking when I say I will run at the mage, I will 3-1 them, and then I'll back up so the creeps don't hit me, and my Thumper will just be clearing during this, and I'll just keep doing that. You essentially are just an annoying poke bot in the lane while your Thumper and your 1 clears, because your 1's still gonna hit minions while you're poking with it. With the cooldown, your 1 and your 3 have super short cooldowns. So you just spam them with these abilities. Your passive on your kit is if you hit a god with an ability, you get movement speed. That's big, like really, really big, because movement speed paired with Gem of Focus makes you really, really quick. Then in the late game, paired with Doom Orb, you're extremely fast. It gives you some survivability. If you didn't know, in Smite 1, they also made it so the 1 can't be crippled. Smite 2, it carried over. Your 1 cannot be crippled. So if you get hit, you're in a Poseidon Whirlpool, you can 1 out of it. You're being Hades pulled, which isn't a cripple, but you're being Hades pulled, you can 1 out of it. There's a lot of abilities that if you are saving your 1 to get out of it, it's enough distance to save you on top of the movement speed that you will gain as long as you hit somebody. Your turrets are crazy at eating abilities. I landed against an Ul last night. Anytime he would run near me or get in melee range where he's trying to do his axe combo, I drop both my turrets and I stand behind them. I circle around them, so if he axes me, it hits a turret and it never hits me. I actually soloed this Ul and abated this Ul in that game like 3 times by using my turrets to do that. Be a poke bot, be annoying, grab your red buff so when you are hitting them with abilities, you're doing extra damage. Then once you get to that mid-late game, that's where you start to crush in the damage areas. Okay, with that second mod scaling your 1 and your 3, you start to hit very hard. With full build, I think your 3 is hitting for 950, and I think your 1 is hitting for like 850. It's somewhere in there. And then the ultimate starts to hit for the 1500, 1600, 1700 mark. With Fire Giant and a 3k pot, I've had my ult hit a mage for 2300, which in Smite 2 is a lot. In the Smite world, Smite 1, that's good. Like, you could always one shot with big mage ults, which you can do it now again, but Vulcan's one of the few gods that could do it. I have Blink put into this build. You can go Beads or Aegis. You have to judge the actives. I go Blink because I like to be aggressive in my gameplay. If you're just a full defensive player, Beads or Aegis are always going to be better for you. And then once again, you can swap Divine for Doom Orb and just put the Divine here in this slot. I like Vulcan a lot right now. I think he's being slept on. I know a lot of people, I've seen people trying to go defense items on him, go like the Cersei's Hexstone where they can be the boar and run away. I don't think it's needed. I think his damage output is ridiculous. It requires really good positioning. There are some matchups that are obviously not favored, like a Fenrir or whatever running at you, but your damage output is there. Now, since we're talking about gods that are unfavorable and maybe matches that are unfavorable, I have a mid-hybrid build. This build takes value. I actually need to edit this from... No, I'm trolling. This is right. It takes value from using that third mod that makes you tanky when your Thumper is down, gives you 50 of each protections. Stack that up with your base protections of like 80, whatever they are. So you're sitting at like 130 of each. Then we go Breastplate of Valor to give us a ton of cooldown, but still maintain that defense, that physical protections. So now we're sitting up around like 180, 190. And Sphere of Negation. Sphere of Negation gives you 100. You guys can't see it right here. That's kind of annoying. I can open it. Gives you 100 magical protections as well as 70 intellect. It's a very expensive item. But your farm on Vulcan with the turrets is insanely good. You can jungle clear on your own. You can do red buffs quickly. You can go do back camps. You clear the lane quickly. So with Vulcan, I mentioned poking a lot. If I'm not poking, I'm farming. I'm clearing the wave as quickly as possible. Both turrets down, 1, 3, I'm out. I'm going and clearing a camp or 2 camps. And I'm just gonna keep cycling through that. Get as much farm as you can, get the sphere online. Once that sphere is online, you have over 200 magic prods and you're just about at 200 physical prods. That is where you're kind of min-maxed on defense, in my opinion. Obviously getting more has value, but at that point, you can still do a ton of damage. You still have a ridiculous amount of cooldown. You're actually gaining cooldown. Your spamming is insane. You're not going to go even though, you don't have Thoth, but you have a ton of regen and just a ton of mana in general with this kit. If you're being dove, this is what you go. If you're just like right off the rip, you're an item or 2 in and you're being overly dove and your team can't peel for you, the comp's just not in your favor, this is what you do. You go into these hybrid items. You play them out being tankier. You don't dive in now. You're not a front line. You still play the back line. You just live longer until you get to the point where you can trade with these people that are diving you by using your self peel of your 3 knock up, your ultimate on top of you, your turrets to do damage for you. The sustained fight is what you're looking for with a build like this, because with this much cooldown, you're at 20, 25, you're at another, what is this? Oh, it is only 15. So you're at like 60 here, then you're at 85 cooldown, which isn't 85%, it's probably like 60%. You're spamming. Like, you are legit just 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 2, 3-1, 2, 3. You're just spamming everything. You have very little cooldown. You are able to do a lot with this build. I like this a lot. I wouldn't recommend doing this every game. This is like, I'm, early game, I'm 1-3. I'm being dove and my team fights suck. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, number 1 on the list, Aate. This is where I think Vulcan and Aate can be changed because Aate just got a slight nerf. I do still think Aate is beast. I think her ultimate is probably the most valuable team fight ultimate in the game. I think Vulcan's is the one that does the most damage and has the most potential for like one-shotting. Akate's all hits hard as hell. It's hitting up in the 1500s, full build, maybe 3 key pot, red fire giant, whatever. It does hit very hard, but it disrupts the team fight. It gives you mobility, so it's a potential safety net for you. It displaces the enemy team, either forward or back. So if they're on top of you, it sends them away. If they're over there, it brings them back to you. So it's a really good setup tool. You've got micro CC in the mez on the 1 when you're using it properly. Your 2 hits insanely hard when you're playing around towers or objectives and team fights if you're able to build it up. And then you have a high damaging shield that's good against magic damage. So any guardians diving you, any mages hitting you, it's going to eat that damage. And anyone around you is going to take massive AoE. You can also put it on your teammates. And that's where I think she just becomes that team fight like wizard, where she's spamming her 3 on her tank who's on top of a carry. And so she's essentially just pumping 500, 600, 700 damage late game into somebody, while also with a 1 and a 2, or really the 1's on like a 4-second cooldown, 3-second cooldown, and that 2 just building up damage, able to be spammed as well. I think she's where mages should be, and all the other mages need to be brought up to her. I really think that's the case. I like her kit. I think they've made her fun to play. She's still killable because her only safety is the little mini mez if it's she has it ready. She has a little magic shield, so if you do physical damage, doesn't even affect you. And then her ultimate is really the key to playing her and staying safe. If you overcommit somewhere, you use that ultimate to get back to your tower, to go over a wall, whatever. Just take that port and dip as fast as possible. Aegis and beads are immensely valuable in her because she could pop the Aegis, you can ult pop the Aegis so she avoids damage, then take the ult and get away. Or if she's just being CC'd, same kind of concept. She could drop the ult, beads out of the CC, take the ult away. I think Aate is a must. You need to be able to play her in the mid lane. But I think Vulcan's close. I think he's right behind her. I really do believe that you can get in, you can get comfortable with Vulcan and just dumpster games and become a massive threat right now out of that mid lane. But hunters, they still exist. So, look at the tier list for mid lane. All the hunters are just beasts until they figure out how to balance them. Even with an auto attack build, they compete with mages, and then with a crit build, they dumpster mages. People are trying to say it's only Jingwei. That's the problem because of her 2, because it just scales up so high off of Hydras, off of crit bonus, off of everything else. But it's not just Jingwei. She's at the peak. She's the one at the tippy top hitting the hardest. Dude, Medusa can hit hard. Neath, I hit somebody for 1800 yesterday. I backflipped in and autoed them and then hit them for 1800. Hunters need some solid changes, and mages need some solid buffs as soon as possible. So hopefully this video helps you if you're on your trek to be a mid laner, or you get stuck in the mid lane, or you're playing with your friends who you need to play mid lane. These are what you should be playing. That is there. I've covered why you should be playing them and how you should be playing them. Go practice it, put it into concept, drop some comments if it's working for you. Drop some comments if you have any questions about how things work, or if you're wondering what to do in certain situations. I will do my best to answer them. Hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the video later tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.